So nearly all of us have reached level 50 in Lost Ark, but we don't know how to actually proceed. And today we're gonna react to Legacy Gaming, and he teaches us how to actually upgrade, get better gear score and shit like that.
Create a character, level them
Let's
up,
get started.
reach
You
the
pause in
end game.
between
That's where the
for
fun
commentary
begins,
stuff.
and that is
Yeah,
the topic
let's go.
of today's video. Hey there, friends, it's Kodiak here. Welcome back to Legacy Gaming. Today, we're explaining Lost Ark's expansive endgame, so you can hit the ground running on day one.
The only thing I did were just some chaos dungeons, the daily ones, and I literally have no idea how to do shit. And upgrade stuff. Yeah. Damn, listen to it.
First things first, this video is designed to help new NAEU players get a grasp on all the endgame content and systems in Lost Ark. And we don't know for certain.
So there's no prep guide for these experts, it's just a complete beginner guide, perfect for me.
What content is being added on day one, but we certainly can give you a snapshot of the entire endgame landscape so that you're prepared. We'll also try and do things in somewhat of a progressive order so that you can refer to this video to loosely guide you when the time is right. And with all that in mind, let's dive in. Before we get to
I never knew what tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 were. Like,
the actual endgame content, I do want to say there is a smart way to reach level 50, and that's by focusing on story quests. Each hub is going to have additional side quests, and while these are easy to complete, it's going to make it so that you reach level 50 before you actually finish the entire available main quest line.
Yeah, you will end up in
those main
Shoeshire.
quest missions, you'll end up in Shoeshire. And once you complete that region, you'll have a set of T1 equipment, which will give you access to the first bit of vertical progression content. Once you reach level 50, the first bit of endgame content you'll most likely do are chaos dungeons. You'll start by porting into a small area, either solo or with a group of up to 4.
But you can only do them 2 times a day.
You'll then be assaulted by waves of minions. The goal is simple. Keep killing enemies until the gauge in the top left reaches 100%. At that point, the fighting stops and you can claim your rewards. While clearing a chaos dungeon, you'll have to go through a portal that will bring you to a new arena with a different set of enemies. You can do 2 chaos dungeons per day and receive the max amount of rewards, but can continue doing them if you want. Additional clears will net you some exchangeable tokens.
Oh, okay.
Additionally, players can engage in Guardian raids. Think Monster Hunter, but in Lost Ark. You'll enter a small map and using a special item called a flare, locate a Guardian, a giant monster. You can take these on solo or with a group of up to 4, and your goal is to kill the monster.
Oh, okay, this is in a dungeon, it's not like a world boss or something.
And claim its soul before the timer runs out. These fights are incredibly fun and offer players their first real endgame boss experience within Lost Ark. Unlike Chaos Dungeons, you'll have to be more cognizant of lethal one-shot mechanics.
Yeah, the big problem is that we can't really play with other players right now because the dungeons are so scuffed. You can't really join into one. It's always bugged out, at least in the EU servers. We have a bunch of problems with that shit, man. That's also sad.
But as such, makes the entire Guardian raid experience a nice contrast from Chaos Dungeons. You can do Guardian raids twice a day to receive the max amount of rewards, and just like Chaos Dungeons, you can continue to run these for tokens that you can turn in for additional materials. This isn't a super efficient way to get materials, and as you'll see, there are lots of other things you could be doing for more valuable gains. If you're unable to complete the 2 daily Chaos Dungeons and Guardian raids, you gain stacks in your rest gauge. For each task left incomplete, you gain 10 rest. If you have 20 rest the next time you do a Chaos Dungeon or Guardian raid, you'll receive double loot. In total, you can stockpile 100 rest, resulting in 5 instances of double loot. If you're someone that
that's good if you have work or
doesn't have time to play every day, that's fine. But realize that sitting with 100 energy in your rest gauge is when you start to lose out on valuable progression. The rest system is a great way for players to catch up if they miss a day or two, but there is a point when not logging on to progress starts to really hurt you. Again, this really only matters if you're a serious progression person, but at that point, my guess is you'd be logging in.
Yes, so this is why it's viable to have multiple characters, so you can have them all in the end game and level them up at the same time, like with the Chaos Dungeons.
To do everything every day, anyways. Clearing Chaos Dungeons is the first step on your endgame journey, but the only way to get access to additional content is by upgrading your gear. In the NAEU, this process is called gear honing. You'll use materials acquired during Chaos Dungeons to infuse your weapons and armor, upgrading their base stats and power level. Each piece of gear can be upgraded 20 times, and this is the primary way you'll raise your item level high enough to gain entry into new endgame content. I should point out that you never want to increase your gear past plus 15, since that'll give you access to the next tier of gear, Just something to keep in mind. I don't want to get too in the weeds with gear honing at this point because at T1, it's not super involved. But if you guys want me to do a full guide, drop me a line in the comments. I really want to know what videos you would find helpful as we approach launch. The pinnacle T1 progression content is Abyss Dungeons, and this is where things start to get a bit more interesting. These are more traditional dungeons with trash mobs and 2 challenging bosses. This is where group play really starts to matter. Taking on Abyss Dungeon solo just isn't viable.
Again, will this really be viable because
you're going to start to see support classes like bards and paladins play a much more integral role in a group. Most of these dungeons are based on regions and environments you've explored during your leveling process, but the difficulty has been ratcheted up. Mobs hit harder, and bosses have plenty of new gimmicks. Abyss Dungeons can be completed 1 time per dungeon per week and will reward you with tier-specific items. You'll earn gold, materials, randomized accessories, which can turn out to be great or junk. The materials you pull out of dungeons can be used to craft dungeon armor sets, which have set bonuses. Eventually, once T3 becomes active in the NAEU, the goal will be to focus on getting that gear and not investing so much in the earlier sets.
What about
if you're coming from a game like World of Warcraft, you might be wondering, are there raids in Lost Ark? And the short answer is yes. Since the introduction of Tier 2 content, raiding has been a big part of the landscape of the game. In most cases, these are the most challenging aspects of the game, pitting 8 players against bosses with incredible movesets requiring insane coordination. I'm going to shout out Saintone here, who is one of the best Lost Ark creators, who goes in-depth explaining what it's like to be on the cutting edge of raiding in the game. So seriously, check out his video to really see if it's something
you're going to watch it when we reach that point, of course. Like,
thing you're into.
Nah, man.
One of the most important aspects of progression PvE is getting the resources needed to hone and upgrade your gear. Enter Una's Task, daily and weekly quests that take you all around Arcasia as you do a random assortment of odd jobs. I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing really exciting or challenging about these, but it's the rewards that you're after. Just like everything else, there is a cap to how many quests you can complete, and not every task rewards you with progression materials, so you'll pick and choose which missions to take. After completing your Una's Task, you're granted special tokens which can be traded into a gold vendor for a chest of gold. These chests have a small chance of dropping gold bars, which reward you with even more gold. This is the main way to get gold early on during the endgame experience, and gold, for anybody who doesn't know, is the main currency used when interacting with other players at the auction house.
Yeah, for auction house you also need
is to pay attention to what missions award the best rewards, and then use your Bifrost, an instant teleportation feature in the game that allows you to set a point in the world and return back for a little silver. You can actually unlock 2 additional Bifrost slots if you have the Crystalline Aura active. This is something you can have at launch if you buy or pick up a Founders Pack. We have an entire video breaking down the different Founders bundles already up on the channel, so check that out. Completing Una's Tasks increases various reputations, which can also offer certain one-time rewards once you reach a certain threshold. Cube dungeons are accessible only when you have a special ticket. 1 ticket gives you 1 entry into the cube, but once inside, your goal is to stay in as long as possible, clearing as many rooms as you can and finding chests filled with loot. Since entering the cube depends on if you have a ticket or not, it's not exactly something you'll be doing every day, but when you do get the chance, you should. The goal of a cube run is to upgrade your chest from bronze to diamond. Diamond chests reward you with the best loot, which includes important items used to increase your success chance while honing.
But we can't use
the cube does require a bit more coordination than the other endgame content we've talked about, since a single player can screw up the entire run, ending it early, forcing all players to leave prematurely. If you go in solo and die, that's it, the run's over. But if you do have a party, it's a bit more forgiving. Additionally, it's best to use integrated voice chat or something like Discord, because while the content isn't exactly hard, if one player runs back through the entrance door, it ends the entire cube dungeon run, stopping the momentum of your party when the other members may have wanted to continue on. Rumor is this is just a bug and it's been fixed, so by the time NAEU launches, who knows, this may not be the case, but it's still important to know. Another piece of content that requires a ticket to enter is trial paths. These are basically boss rush dungeons where you enter an instance and kill bosses as fast as possible, one after the other. Like the cube, you can get an entry ticket randomly by doing chaos dungeons. Trial paths is the primary way to pick up skill gems, which grant your skills certain passive bonuses like reduced cooldown time or increased damage, making them an important endgame activity that you should do when given the chance. You can enter these solo, but as with all boss-related activities, it's better to bring friends along to split the aggro. If you're looking for a solo endgame challenge, check out the Towers. Each floor of the tower presents a different challenge, and as such, puts all your various skills to the test, including burst DPS, boss damage, avoidance, and problem solving. Each floor of the tower rewards a special item ranging from silver and honing materials to valuable skill potions that increase your skill points across all characters on the server. As a player, you can enter the Tower of Shadow.
But can you grant that the entire day? Or
once your character reaches item level 302, which makes it one of the most accessible chunks of endgame content, but don't expect to complete all the floors at that item level. Things get progressively harder the more floors you complete. When you run out of daily and weekly things to do, the next thing on your list to complete are collectibles. This may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a huge aspect of Lost Ark.
No Mokoko seeds. I think Mokoko seeds is
Each
so
collectible system is slightly different, but they all ultimately end the same way, with you cashing in your rewards on a specific NPC for some valuable loot. Island tokens are gained by completing various tasks on the numerous islands in the seas of Arcasia. Some islands are open and active at specific times, others are open 24/7 and offer different quest lines that tie into the other collectibles. You can monitor the activity of the islands using the special rolling calendar unlocked once you reach level 50. Most players will tell you that when you get stuck during progression, you go around and do island content, as it's a great way to gain upgrade materials that will help you ultimately progress your gear score. Giant hearts are another collectible gained through various means. Hearts can be collected via specific quests or as rapport rewards, and in some cases as rewards for completing various floors of the tower. These should be collected over time, as there are 3 skill point potions up for grabs, one for turning in 6 hearts, another for 10 hearts, and finally 12 hearts. Mokoko seeds can be found all over the world. They're often hidden behind false doors or in secret areas of the map. Other times they're just sitting there on the ground obscured by some grass. Tracking down these Mokoko seeds takes a long time, but luckily the rewards are worth it. There are a number of different items up for grabs that you can get from the NPC once you turn in your seeds, including skill point potions, new crew members for your ship, and masterpieces.
Okay,
another collectible we'll talk about in just a second. A collectible rooted in the life skill system, World Tree Leaves are collected by simply doing your life skills. If you're focused on crafting or helping your guild advance quickly by completing weekly quests, it's a nice bonus for just helping out. World Tree Leaves can be turned into a specific vendor in every major city, and the rewards often come back to enhance your life skills in some way, shape, or form. One of the more expansive collectibles in the game, masterpieces are about as tedious to track down as it gets. Some are acquired by completing aspects of your adventure tome. This is no doubt a system that you're familiar with. Every time you enter a region, you have the opportunity to fill out your adventure tome. By visiting vistas, killing certain elite NPCs, and collecting special items, you can progress your adventure tome in that region and gain certain rewards. Other masterpieces are rewarded by beating certain floors.
Like, I think there was a potion which was usable, infinitely usable, yeah.
Of the tower.
That's insane.
All in all, there are 60 masterpieces to collect that reward you with a number of valuable items, like legendary cards, skill runes which enhance your character's abilities, and treasure chests that award the player with gold. Igneous Tokens go hand in hand with the adventure tome. When you complete 100% of the tasks outlined in the tome for a region, you're awarded 1 Igneous Token. Turning in tokens nets you some pretty cool rewards like a greater skill point potion, a Bifrost key which unlocks a new Bifrost slot, and an awesome golden turbo.
Okay, the Bifrost key, is it permanently without the crystalline stuff? That would be nice. And
beyond mount.
Okay, the mount's not
Our final
amazing.
collectible are
like
sea bounties. These are gained a number of different ways, like completing various portions of your adventure tome, reaching a certain rapport with various NPCs, and by exchanging large sums of tokens with other NPCs, amongst other things. There are a number of crewmates you can collect as rewards for turning in sea bounties, as well as adventurers' treasure chests, which reward you with silver. As you guys can see, there is no shortage of collectibles to obtain. While it's not directly considered progression endgame content, I think many veterans would argue it's a necessary step in your progression experience.
Yeah.
Luckily, most of these systems are shared across your character on a given server, so you only have to do them once. Things like skill point potions, once unlocked, are available to all characters on that server. A great move in my opinion.
Like,
it just further shows that the Smilegate team respects our time as players within their game.
Chaos Gates.
If you get bored of dungeons, raids, and collectibles, there's even more you can do. Once you reach level 50, you'll have access to that rolling calendar we talked about before, and there are a number of activities you can check out. Chaos Gates are portals that are active 4 times a week. On the days that they're active, they open up every hour. Each has a certain player limit, so get there as soon as possible for your chance to jump in and score some loot. The goal is simple: to find the portal commander and kill them as fast as possible. By completing a Chaos Gate, you get a treasure map based on the continent where you entered that Chaos Gate. Each map leads to an instance treasure dungeon that can be entered by 4 players, quadrupling the reward. While you can enter Chaos Gates as much as you'd like, you only get rewards once a day.
Oh.
Similar to Chaos Gates are ghost ships, which can be found in dangerous hazard zones in the seas of Arcasia. Depending on where the ship is located, the item level requirement will vary. If your ship breaks due to the hazards, you will not be able to enter the ghost ship. If you do manage to enter, you'll be slowed and do reduced damage. While debuffed, your goal is to clear all the mobs swarming you and inevitably a boss. This is one of the activities you can do to get a special gear honing item that increases your chance for success, so it's definitely worth doing once a week for maximum rewards.
Quite important.
You can do this solo
because the success rate gets so low at the end. That's insane, man.
But it's recommended to do it in a party to hit your contribution requirements for maximum rewards. You've no doubt already run across a field boss during your leveling experience. These are large open world boss fights that anyone can contribute to. They often have a lot of health, thus requiring a lot of people to help take down. Yeah. Once you reach level 50, you can go back and take out the field bosses in your adventure
boss
if you'd like,
me when I was
but it's
like
recommended that
48.
you take on challenges that are at your item level, as the rewards don't scale. These bosses reward upgrade materials, accessories, and more based on your contributions, and sometimes even drop island tokens and Omnium stars, another collectible that can be turned in for rewards. The final timed activity are Adventure Islands. These open up 6 times a day, 3 times around midday, and 3 times in the evening, but you can only enter once a day, twice on the weekends. Each island offers something a bit different, whether it's PvP or PvE, but you can choose which islands you want to do based on the rewards or your skills. After completing a short intro quest, you can contribute to the overall objective of the island. Depending on the island you pick, you'll get a specific reward, like silver, gold, card packs, or pirate coin chests. Each island also has a chance to drop an island-specific reward, such as an island token. The timing of these islands can get a bit confusing since there are 3 open at one time, so be sure to check your calendar to make sure you're not missing out. Once you unlock Lutera, you're going to gain access to your stronghold. This goes hand in hand with the life skill system you unlock at Lake Bar, and together they form an important piece of the endgame. Advancing your stronghold gives you access to new crafting recipes for things like percent-based HP potions and grenades, essential items that you have to have when T2 and T3 content unlocks for the NAEU crowd. Your stronghold is also a place where you can send crews out on...
Like, I never knew which pirate token I should take. Like, I always choose the longest one, the one that takes one day.
Various automated missions. We talked about this at length in one of our recent videos, so if you're a casual player that wants to explore the endgame but doesn't have a ton of time, check it out. Think of this as passive income. You unlock a solid set of crewmates, send them out on missions, and in a few hours, you have new resources that you can use to progress your character or account. Strongholds also act as important hubs for all the things that you collect, whether it be battle items or chests. Tapping into various research aspects of your laboratory gives you as a player more flexibility to expand within the game. I do think a lot of players in the West are going to dislike the Stronghold system. I said this in a previous video, but it functions much the way a free-to-play mobile city sim does, and while there is depth to the system, it takes a second to appreciate it. A lot of this has to do with the fluff surrounding the substance, the cosmetic freedom to make your Stronghold the way you want, but there is substantial value here if you're someone looking to make the most out of the endgame. Keep in mind that the Lost Ark development team is making substantial changes to Strongholds this year, so things could look very different down the line. But until we know for certain, this is what we're working with. Although they're considered collectibles, I thought it was important to talk about cards separately from the rest of the items. Much like the other collectibles we talked about before, cards are obtained a number of different ways, as rapport rewards, from chests, as random drops, you name it. When you activate a card, it goes to your collection and can be used in a small deck. A deck is made up of 6 cards that, when put together in certain combinations, give you passive stat boosts. Cards come in different rarities like uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary, and as you'd expect, the rarer the card set, more times than not, the better the stat boosts. Cards aren't a game changer, but anyone that knows progression PvE knows that any sort of stat boost could be the difference between life and death, a boss being killed and a boss killing you, and to that end, cards are worth hunting down. The final collectible I want to draw attention to are skill runes.
Like, how
These
can
can
you
be
actually
assigned
hunt
one
them
per
down the
ability
cards?
that act as a sort of enhancement
I
on
mean,
that
it's random.
specific move it's assigned to. At the time of making this video, there are 12 runes, and collecting them all oftentimes boils down to RNG. Some skill runes are required by turning in various collectibles, while
Okay,
other
still
times they're
casting
dropped from
speed.
random
I think
bosses
that's
and
the
things
most
like
important thing,
Guardian
man.
raids. Skill runes are one of the more valuable enhancements a player can make to their character. Some examples of their benefits are increased casting speed, cooldown reductions, and even
Like, who needs MP consumption? I never saw anyone who had MP problems in this game. Like,
bleed
for real.
effects
When
on
do
your
I see it?
abilities. If it's not abundantly clear, there's a lot you can do once you reach the end game in Lost Ark, and hopefully this guide gave you a better understanding of what content you want to seek out. There are a ton of resources on the internet if you're someone that wants to cut corners when it comes to things like Makoko seeds and giant hearts, so do a quick Google search and figure out the best path for you. If you are someone that's interested in endgame content, I want to welcome you all to join the Legacy.
That's it. That's actually it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Subscribe to Legacy Gaming and to me as well. We're gonna leave a like, of course. And yeah, I think I know how I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm gonna create multiple characters to do the daily endgame stuff, and that's actually it. Like, this is how much time I actually want to spend in a game. I don't want to do too much because I'm gonna then get burnt out like in Genshin again. I don't wanna let that happen. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Wafer out.